All right, so we are recording. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. Hello, every masculine male out there who is over 30, because my focus nowadays is to focus on adult men. Nothing to do with you guys, younger guys, but I think that the older guys, we are a little bit more mature because we've gotten into more shit and trouble than you do. And thus, if you are an older guy, today is a really beautiful day and a beautiful podcast because I have David today who is going to free us from common fucking issues, and we can swear, David, from the common fucking issues that we all guys in our 30s and our 40s experience, which are our fucking knees. So, hello, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for that's a hell of an intro. I'm doing well. I'm coming from Irvine, California. It's a beautiful day here, and I'm happy to be on the podcast.
I'm glad you came on, and I'm really appreciative of your time, man. I know that people want to hear about the knee problem and the knee magic that you do. Before we go to your back history, tell us, a very short synopsis of your bio, what you are right now, what are you doing, and then we go to the backstory and blah blah.
Perfect. So, obviously on Instagram, my name is Knee Freedom, and my sole purpose right now is to help people live a pain-free life, mostly centered around knee pain, getting them out of knee pain.
That was the shortest bio I've ever heard, and that's thumbs up, man. I really that thumbs up. Usually when I ask this question, it's like usually a 10-minute answer, which is not it's not bad. It's not bad. I like to hear of people, but you were really concise to
You
the
guys
point,
keep it
man.
short. I had to keep
Yeah,
it
yeah,
short.
I like that. I like that. You are in Greece. We say "lakonizin esti philosophy," which means that speak like the Spartans, which is the best philosophy. And usually, supposedly the Spartans, used very short words and phrases. So, yeah. All right. So you are a coach. You're doing things with knees and stuff. You are rehabilitating probably people and stuff. But why did you get to that? How did you go to that point? Why? I mean, what was your first encounter with your knee problems? What happened there? And how did you find ATG?
That's a great question. So it actually started when I was 12 years old. I would finish basketball games. So in the United States, we have AAU basketball where you play like 4 or 5 games in like 2 days. And I had this bump on the side of my knee, my left knee. And after games, it would hurt to the touch. So I couldn't walk. Like I would limp home after games, sit on the couch, take off my knee sleeve. Like imagine, playing 12 years old, you're already wearing knee sleeves. That's an issue in itself. And this thing hurt to the touch. I played for a couple years with it, and I got my first surgery at 14 years old on my left knee for a torn meniscus. And by the time I left high school at 18, I had 3 knee surgeries, torn meniscus, twice on the left, once on the right. I ended up having foot problems, tore my hamstring. So it just started like a slew of injuries that would seemingly never stop. That led me to being 24 years old. I had started my job as a personal trainer, and it was at a really small gym. So I had some downtime. So I would always be scrolling through Instagram. And this guy, Ben Patrick, popped up on my Instagram. And he would just keep popping up. Like every day I would see him. And he's like talking about getting rid of knee pain, how he went from like an 18-inch vertical to a 40-inch vertical. And now he has no knee pain. I'm like, all right. It's the internet, so I'm a little skeptical. Like, it seems a little bit like a charlatan. Like, maybe it's not real. So I like looked at these ads for like maybe 6 weeks or 2 months, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm in trouble because at this point I'm 24 and my knee pain is still there. Like, I still have issues. I can't sit down on my knees without pain. I pretty much have it every day. If I stop playing basketball because of it. So at 12 years later, at 24 going from 12, I still have the pain. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. He's offering 1 month, right? And you can cancel at any time. So I'm like, if it's not good, if he is a charlatan, I'll just cancel and I'll only lose $50. I signed up, and the first session, I got relief inside the session that I hadn't felt I couldn't even remember how long. So immediately at that point, I was hooked, and I just went full into the system. Obviously, I stayed longer than 1 month, and about 8 months into it, I asked him to become a coach for ATG, for Athletic Truth Group. He said yes. He offered me a job. He gave me a job, basically. And then that the rest is history. So that was April of 2020. I became a coach for ATG, and that's around that time I started Knee Freedom on Instagram.
Wow. First of all, your backstory, it's really painful, man. I was listening to your. It's funny and it's a little bit sad at the same time because seeing a young child being like an old man for me is comical, but it's also, sad. Fuck. And I remember my own, I remember my own struggles when I was young. I was fat, of course, when I was younger. Until I was 14, 15, I was chubby. And sometimes I really think that we've screwed our educational system in most countries. And it's beautiful to see systems like the ATG rising up in fame and being more popular, because I had my own knee problems since I was 16, which is not like you. It's a little bit, it's not that like you. You were like 12, which is amazing. I mean, your story is really probably the best marketing for ATG, I could say. I mean, 12, having knee problems, and now being, Superman. I mean, yeah, whatever.
For even like, I used to 16 only comparison to 12 is not as young, obviously, but 16 is still way too young to be operating like an old man. And I'll tell you a story that relates to this. So my family on my mom's side is Islamic, they're Muslim, right? So we go to prayer at the masjid. So I'm like 18 years old at this point. And I can't even sit on the ground to pray. So I have to go back and sit on the chair, right? So they have chairs for people who can't sit down. The person sitting next to me, and I mean this with all due respect, is like 90 years old, like 1 foot already in the grave. Like he's already like halfway there. Like snot bubbles coming out of his nose, like. And I'm thinking in my head at this point, as 18-year-old, like, I'm sitting next to this guy. Like, we're no different. Like, he can't pray on the ground and neither can I. And I was so embarrassed. Luckily, no one was there, so it wasn't like a public humiliation. But privately, it was humiliating for me. I was like, life should not be like this at this age.
I felt like you when I was 16, when 17. I didn't want to go to physio, right? I ultimately went. I was there sitting alongside grandmas, and I was thinking, I was 18. And what the fuck I'm doing here? And there was a fat guy, 2 grandmas, and me. And I was like, this is not the place for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to run. I want to flirt with girls. I want to go outside. I want to do my life. What the fuck? My knee problems weren't that disastrous, but until now I'm 30, they never went away. So really, now that I'm trying your exercises and I'm definitely going to buy your program and your products, now I'm starting slowly to kind of strengthen my kneecap and the knee musculature, etc. But I had other problems and shoulder problems, trapezius here, neck problems. I had lordosis. I had the other thing called kyphosis. It's called in Greece. I don't know how you say this. It's really sad. I hope it. I have a dream, like the other guy said. I have a dream that at some point all of that will be not free. Not free necessarily, but it will be taught from physical educators in schools, right? Before we go into the ATG system and all the beautiful benefits, your coach back then in the day, when you were doing basketball and other sports, what was your regimen? What was your program, your exercises?
Yeah. So I would say that the coaches, while they were good teachers for the sport, they are out of their depth when it comes to physical training. Like often there were no programs. I went to a small private school in Wisconsin. Right, so there's probably like 365 kids in the school over 4 classes, 4 grades. So like our soccer team, we didn't even train. We didn't physically train, meaning like we didn't go into the weight room or do any of that. Only for basketball was that something we did. And first of all, it wasn't really a priority. It wasn't an in-depth program individualized to each player to overcome their weaknesses or their shortcomings, right? So most of it is like you find stuff on your own. Like my dad would find something and be like, oh, this can help you jump higher, or this can help with whatever, right? And so you would do that. And that's what I did. So I was actually lifting a lot in 8th grade, Yeah, seventh grade, eighth grade, freshman year of high school. So at that point, you're talking like 12 to 14, 15. And I did jump higher, but every time I would have a surgery, I would like reset from zero, basically. Not from zero, but you know what I mean? Like I would have to redo everything that I had already done, and I would go back to some lower level, and I would have to come back from it, and then I would get another surgery, and eventually you just get tired of doing that. So I'd say around maybe 16, I just stopped lifting because it wasn't helping. I was still having surgeries, so I didn't see it as helpful. So I stopped lifting lower body stuff, and I would just play. Some people have the story of they were doing the wrong training, right? I just feel like I wasn't doing maybe I was doing some of the wrong training, and at the same time I just wasn't training. Eventually I just stopped training in the weight room altogether. I just didn't see the point anymore, and I was convinced that like the best way would be without weights. Like you have to find a way to do it body weight, because I had associated weights with not being helpful.
So, what exercises did you do for your back then? For what was your weightlifting for the legs?
Yeah, so my dad found this like 30-day jump program, right? So we would do like, your regular old barbell squats, hip thrusts, split squats, but not like the ATG split squats, more like a Bulgarian split squat where the back leg is elevated onto some bench. And then the front leg is not going knees over toes. It's in a limited range of motion, but mostly the basics. It's like you bench, you squat, you deadlift, and you're gonna be Superman. They can people really believe that, and I believed it too, because the people who were telling me were older than me. They had more experience, so you figure they know what they're talking about. When I've gotten older and I've gotten into ATG, then you realize, oh well, they missed the mark, and that the bench, deadlift, squat thing is not that helpful for athletes, and there are much better systems and exercises to be using.
Yeah, I mean, I probably agree with you at that point, and I have a funny story to say about perception. So how people perceive whom to trust regarding the physical exercise. So I have a brother. I have two brothers. I have one brother that's older than me, and he's charismatic. He's muscular from birth. So he was strong from birth. Gifted. Blah blah blah. And at some point, I was out with my friends, and I brought my brother too, right? So at some point, I was exercising. So I was trying to educate my friends about exercise, right? But I wasn't seemingly very fit. I was, kind of, my frame was okay, but I wasn't like, juiced up, and I'm not now. So I'm not gifted, but, I have to put up the work. But I knew a few things, I had read a few things. I have tried swimming, weightlifting, with free weights, with machines. I had tried different protocols, blah, blah, blah. So I have tried, and I was sharing my opinion. And then came my brother, and my brother, looked more muscular, even though my brother doesn't exercise at all. He, he doesn't exercise. He does, really, honestly. It's just his frame. And I remember a friend of mine, Yannis, also. And Yannis, stopped looking at me and looked at my brother and looked at me back and said, said to me out loud, we should not listen to you, dude. And he looks to my brother and starts asking him questions about exercise. So that's a very interesting thing to remember, that sometimes we trust people that because of the perception they have, and sometimes perceptions, and that's very critical, I think, to keep in mind for the audience. And I don't know if you agree, but I think perceptions in fitness are very dangerous when they are not filtered properly.
Great point. So I have actually an interesting story. So I was at the gym with my kala, my aunt, and we went maybe 1 or 2 days ago, right? And she actually asked me this question, like about, she had seen trainers in there, and she's like, as a trainer, shouldn't you be in shape, like if you're coaching someone? And I said, well, okay, here's the danger. The danger of the fitness world is when someone sees a person who's in shape, in very good shape, they assume that they know what they're talking about and they know how to coach. The thing is, training and coaching are two completely separate skill sets. So you can be an awesome trainer training yourself and be a really bad coach and not know how to get the results with other people. So there's a danger there because perception is very powerful, like you're saying. And if you see someone who's in shape, naturally you're going to assume they know more about being in shape and training than you. And you might go to them, but they may not know that much, or they may know how to do it for themselves and not have any idea how to do it for you, because they're going to have to adapt and change some things to make it work for you. Whereas everything that worked for them, it's just not transferable to you. They need to change some things, and they're not coaches, so they don't know how to do it. And I think you're right. It is very dangerous. And I think that's why at ATG, one of the things we say is live the product. The thing is, I want to be the person who's perceived, because it helps draw people to you, perceived as knowing what they're talking about. But I also want to be able to back that up by actually knowing what I'm talking about and being able to help. And I think that's the future. If you can combine both, it becomes very powerful, because you work with the perception that's already working for you, but then you actually deliver real results for real people.
Yeah, that's a very great clarification, because I don't want people to think that if a guy trainer has a beer belly, he's he's also probably not qualified, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because do you know that guy? How's his starting strength? The guy from starting strength.
Okay,
I know
starting strength.
All right. So the guy, he has a beer belly, but probably it's that because he's old, and sometimes I say this because I was in a gym 3 years ago, and it was a group training. And I don't like group trainings, by the way, but it was a group training, and one guy was superhuman. It was like fake. It was like 6'4", and really like the superhuman dude from the movies. Like, it was fake. I was like, are you a lab dude? Are you a lab rat? Are you something? Are you an alien or something? I was really asking him questions. I mean, how could you? How are people like so big like you? I mean, it's crazy. And at the same point, there was a guy, and I felt sad for the guy, but I also was wondering why he was there. He was a trainer, but he had a beer belly. And I was like, I'm in better shape than you, and that shouldn't be right,
Right. And I think for coaches, for people who want to coach, or people who are interested in coaching, it's important to know, you can be out of shape and super knowledgeable. If you're out of shape, it's going to affect the amount of clients that will come to you. It just will. It's unfortunate, because you know what you're talking about, but it's worth it to build an image that, one, you're healthy, right? You're in good shape, but also that will help you deliver the service you want to deliver. Because if you can be super knowledgeable and out of shape, that's 100% true, but it will affect the people who come to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly how you say it. I saw it with my brother countless times, so it's true. So, having said all that, so you did that. You are a coach right now for the past almost year, not
about a year and a half.
A year and a half. I'm sorry. Yeah. From April, you said, right?
Yeah.
April, 2020. All right. Give us a synopsis of the program and the philosophy of the ATG program, and then we're going to talk, a few things about cases and what you've seen with clients, and blah blah.
So, synopsis of ATG, the big philosophy we have, there's a couple of them, but a big one is knees over toes. So basically, the idea is that you gain strength in the range it is trained. The reason that people are having knee pain issues is they actually avoid the ranges where they have pain. So they feel pain at a certain range of motion, and they just back off. And a lot of common advice is, well, just don't go that far, just stay in the little box where it's safe. What's the issue with that? Is that life doesn't have these boxes. When you go up the stairs, knees over toes. When you run, knees over toes. When you walk backwards, knees over toes. When you have to pick something up from the ground, your knees go over your toes. So life is knees over toes. And if you play sports are extremely knees over toes. So if you want to be protected and safe in those ranges, then you need to start training your knees to be strong in those ranges. And what we do at ATG is we use a system of what we call regression and progression. So progression obviously means making an exercise harder. Regression would be making it easier so that you're working at the right level for you. Because if you haven't been training knees over toes, you can't just jump into it and expect to not feel pain. So you have to work at a pain-free range and then gradually increase your capability over time.
You say that at some point you may have to regress some, some things, and you have to progress at some others. I guess there are some exercises you do, some, protocols and stuff. So you said about the regress. How do you regress a client in the ATG system? Can you, provide an example or something?
Absolutely. So let's say a common one that we do is the split squat, right? Full range of motion split squat. So your knee goes all the way over your toe. Your hamstring needs to fully cover your calf at the bottom and the front leg. Okay, so let's say someone comes and start them out that way and it's like, oh, I have pain. Then what we do is we elevate their front foot off the ground using a box or a step of some sort. And we can go as high as 1 foot, 12 inches, and use assistance if you need to. So if let's say they can't get the full range of motion or they have pain, we just bring the foot higher. So why would you do that? Is because you can still get the benefits of going for full bend, right? Because now they're able to get the full bend, but they don't have to work through pain to do it. So it's actually helping them heal, not aiding in their destruction, shall we say.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. I've seen, how do you call that? Slant board, which is kind of,
Slant board, yep.
And what have you seen from your clients? What have you seen? What are some cases that you've seen that made you say, wow, I mean, fuck?
Dude, the wins that come in every day. So if anyone uses Instagram who's listening, if you go to @athletic_truth_group, and I'm sure we can write this out for you so that you go to the right page, we post our client wins there almost every day. Should be every day. So you can see some of the wins that people have from the system. I mean, it's incredible. Like you see people who have had, 30 years of pain, and then after 6 months of the system, they have nothing. Or their doctor told them their knees will never bend again. They won't go past a certain range of motion. And then they pass that in 6 weeks or 12 weeks. And you're like, what? Okay, something has to be going on here, because the professionals are saying, like medical professionals are saying, well, hey, these things aren't possible. And people are canceling surgeries and passing plateaus they were told they'll never be able to do again, and returning to sports they haven't played in a decade. They're jumping higher in their 40s than they were in their 20s. I mean, it's unbelievable stuff. So these are the type of results that every day sort of reinforce my own belief in the system. You're just like, geez, like this stuff doesn't even seem real.
Again, yeah, it's first of all, yeah, I will link down below your links, your Instagram, for the people, for the audience to go and see these miraculous transformations, because I've seen some of them and I'm like, what the I mean, how can that be? And I've seen also old people doing the exercises, and that's madness. I mean, this is Sparta, that's madness for sure. That's why I asked you, because I wanted to hear the truth from your mouth, because you are the coach. You say that you are knee freedom, ATG system, knees, all right. Are there other things, for example, mobility of the hips or of the ankles? How do they play? How do they come to play to all that?
It's interesting that you want to ask that question and bring up those two things, because when we're talking about the lower body, the hips and the ankles play a huge part. So basically, if you think of Athletic Truth Group or me, knee freedom, you can't be knee freedom or like Ben, knees over toes guy, if you're not also hip freedom and ankle freedom, because they play such an integral part to the knee. So this is the way I like to describe it. Okay, in the United States, divorce is very common, right? You often get couples that come together and they divorce. So I think of it like this. The hip and the ankle are the parents, okay? If they have a bad relationship, the child, the knee, is going to suffer. He's going to have problems. He's going to get hurt. If they have a good relationship, then the child's going to have a good life. He's going to be solid, right? So if you have knee problems, sometimes the knees over toes is not exactly where you're lacking, but it's actually your hip mobility or your ankle mobility or flexibility, however you want to call it, that's actually causing the issues. And that's why you'll see sometimes people will get pain free while doing the exercises, but when they go to do their sport or they go walking, they still have pain because when they move, their hips or their ankles don't move the way that they need to. All right. And so I can give a common example, which would be you have the internal rotation of the hip and the external rotation of the hip, right? You also have that in the ankle, the internal rotation of the ankle and the external rotation. So a lot of us have our hips stuck in external rotation, which means they're pointed out. It's because we sit all the time, and a lot of us now walk like that. So the hips are just like stuck like this. So if the ankle is internally rotating to land and the hip is stuck in external rotation when it should be internally rotating, that creates what they call a shear force at the knee. And basically you think the hip is pulling the knee one way, the ankle is pulling the knee the other, and the knee is just getting shredded. So this is a very common problem, is that the hips or the ankles are contributing to your knee pain.
I've seen myself, I've seen having tighter, my right hip mobility is much tighter, and same holds true for my left ankle mobility. When you really observe the body, I think, David, you can see, even if you are a layman like I am, or anybody from the audience, we are not professionals per se like you, but I think if we observe the body, we can make these connections. But I think we've lost that touch, and that's my belief. That's where you come and the coaches come. For me, the coaches, for example, a coach like you are more like a reminder. So you are realigning people to their truth. So you are not adding up more truth than there was before. You are realigning people to what they should do by birth, and that's beautiful. I think you are like a decoder. You deconstruct the messages and you give it to people, in the proper form, and the people wake up finally to the proper message. That's how I see you right now. That's how I brought you here, because I love the whole message of ATG and what you've done with people, and it sounds amazing. Having said all that, I want to ask you another question. So do you work with athletes?
Yeah, we have I lost track of the number, but at one point it was like 42, 37, 42, something like that, professional athletes who use the ATG system.
All right. And what are the differences between your professional clients and the amateurs regarding their progress? So is their progress similar with the same exercises and the same protocols?
So it's really interesting, actually. So without obviously releasing any names, you would think that because professional athletes versus the lay person, that there would be drastic differences in the way the program works or how it affects them. And the opposite is the truth. Like you see, like obviously there's a spectrum. Let's just say overall there's a spectrum of clients, some who progress slower, some who progress faster, some who have certain troubles with certain exercises and are good at others. And the athletes are the same way. Like there's this one athlete and she had to work so hard just to get her split squats to be pain-free on flat ground. Like, using double assistance, using floss bands, which is a specific tool to help the blood flow around the joint. You probably know it. Maybe your audience doesn't. And so she had to use all of this, and for months was just like the progress was very, very slow. There was progress, but it was slow. And she's a UFC fighter or martial arts MMA person. And so her progress was very slow. And then there are other athletes who are in a better position, starting out, maybe just because they got lucky or they just didn't have as much damaging things happen to them. And they see quick progress. They come in, they're a little bit stronger, they're maybe a little bit more mobile than your average layperson, and so the program just clicks with them. It gets rid of their pain quickly, and then they're able to fully express their athletic ability on the field without having to worry about being in pain. But the reason the system works so well and it's getting popular is because of something you brought up earlier, which is the athlete and the 80-year-old, 85-year-old, 72-year-old grandparent are both getting results using the same exercises because they can work at a different level on the same exercise. So the 80-year-old may be doing split squats with the front foot elevated, and the athlete is doing them with 100 pounds on the bar, or 60 kilos on the bar. The system just adapts to whoever needs it in the way that they need it, and that's why it's been so effective for so many different types of people.
Let's say that I'm a guy that has no knee pain. Let's say I'm 30 and I got lucky, or I didn't exercise back in the day, so I have no issues, and my knees don't hurt very much or don't hurt at all. Would you advise me to go and start ATG system, knee freedom system?
I would. It depends on your goals, which program you would start with, like which one would be best for you. Because the thing about it is there's still benefit, even if you have no knee pain, right? And we have people who join with no knee pain and they say, I have no knee pain, but I'm looking to do this in a preventative measure, right? To prevent this from becoming a problem in the future. And so for someone, 30-year-old guy, let's say, has no knee pain, has never had a history of knee pain, it would depend on his goals, which program he should use, right? If he's looking to improve his athleticism, then we might offer him our dense program where you start with weights and maybe he has a history of weight training. But in your example, he's never worked out, right? So he would still start on the same program as everyone else. And these exercises would still increase his flexibility, increase his overall leg strength, and identify for him, and this is maybe the most important, identify for him, are there issues he was unaware of that have not yet manifested in pain, but it could be on the way in the future? Meaning, is there a significant difference in strength between his right and left leg, or flexibility between his right hip and left hip? So I would say for those who don't have knee pain, where it can be, or any pain, where it could be really useful, the ATG system, is identifying where you are at with your body, developing a better understanding of your body, and identifying whether or not you may be on the path to developing pain if you don't address certain imbalances or issues that you have but are unaware of because there's no pain.
I don't know what's your opinion about that, but I think, David, that most people, sadly, we are very slow to understand things about our bodies, and we usually have to be destroyed. We have to face cancer, we have to face some heart issue, we have to face knee pain, and then take action. Prevention is always easier than trying to fix problems. And yes, when you have a problem, you have to fix it. You either fix it or you stay with it, and you're in pain and being in pain is a miserable life.
I agree with a couple of points. One, as human beings, we tend to wait till everything goes to shit before we decide to fix something. And the second point is, this prevention idea, right? Going in to do prevention, it's not just physical. I don't know what the cost of surgery is in Greece, but in America, knee surgery, you're losing $10,000, $20,000. If you do a knee replacement, it could be even more than that. I mean, it's money out of your pocket. And to use another metaphor, it would be, let's say you're a 30-year-old guy, right? And you're making solid money. Okay, you have a solid income, right? If you don't invest that money, you don't find a way to make money, right? You are not protected into the future, because something could happen, like COVID, right? You lose your job, you lose that income, and now you have nothing saved up, right? There's no money in the bank. There's no money in the stock market or wherever you choose to invest. So now you're in trouble, right? So if you think of your knees the same way, like getting into the system is putting money into the bank for your knees. It is investing into your health, so that if something should go wrong, which we know that in life there's just a lot of unpredictability and you don't know when something might go wrong, that you are prepared for it. And like Dean said, which he said perfectly, is it's easier to prevent a problem before it starts than to have to go fix a problem after it's already manifested itself. And now, you've lost $20,000, you have knee pain, you had a surgery, all that. It's really not worth it. Coming from someone whose dad had to spend, tens of thousands of dollars on me, surgery, rehab, it's unbelievable. You just don't want to go down that route.
you've heard the man himself. So where can people find you, man? When can people find you?
So on Instagram at knee freedom. That's really the only place that I am, is I just do Instagram. And then you can find our company again at Athletic Truth Group, also on Instagram. Our website is atgonlinecoaching.com, and there you can see the overview of all the programs, the exercises, and the services that we offer.
I mean, do you have any last words?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you for inviting me on the podcast and giving me this space to talk about what I'm passionate about. Secondly, I like to say that you will be hosting me at some point in Greece. I will come visit. I've never been to Greece. I've been to Europe a couple times, Spain, France, UK, but never to Greece. So we can sit down, have another chat, maybe even let's host a workout. Get the boys, get the men involved.
Yeah.
And, so at some point I'll be over there. I'll be over in Greece and we'll meet in person. But thank you to everyone who tuned in, who listened.
Yeah.
I hope this helps you in some way.
Bro, that's exactly right. So when you come to Greece, you let me know. We're going to go places and we're going to hike so that we can see if you are truly the knee freedom man.
or Arlington.
Yeah, we're going to Olympus, man, to meet the gods. The gods of knee freedom. So, all right, David. Until then, my friends, I hope that people, even with these weird times, that find a way. You can do that. I guess you offer online coaching, I guess, right?
That's online, yeah.
All right, so that's great. So no excuse, guys. So go check David out, and I'll put the links down below. So, David, my friend, see you soon. Have a great week and a great month coming up.
Thank you, Dean. It was a pleasure.
Me too, man.
All right, talk soon.